It's so, like, it's so refreshing being with you, and so freeing, like there's no one way to do, there's nothing to do, and there's no way.
The doing will happen, but it's like it's not about you, and you can't know your own path. We get so stuck into a spiritual dogma of like following this
Oh,
path or trying to get rid of the ego. And it gets so like it gets to a new constraint. At first that's liberating because it's throwing the old ideas out of society, but then that becomes a new constraint.
absolutely, and that's kind of been what's been happening here, is that there's been like following a certain lineage, which has been beautiful, and that's just been also unfolding in that way. But then it's exactly what you say, is then there becomes a personal aspect to that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, I don't really know what I want to say, but
Well, I'll most probably come up blank then.
it's like, I guess, kind of like, it's the character wants to say whatever is seen is as a result of inquiry, like that nothing has ever happened. There is nothing, there is only this, and this recognizes itself. There's nothing that recognizes it. There's nothing that it's revealed to. It somehow just, you know, nothing has ever happened. It's never happened to anyone. There's just nothing. And somehow then the character thinks, well, you know, this seeing was a result of inquiry. But it cannot be the result of
No.
anything. There's no cause and effect.
Yeah. It,
And
it might seem that way. It might seem that there was a listening to a speaker or inquiring happening, but ultimately it's always been this stillness. It's never been somebody's job to find it. Everything appeared and disappeared in it as it, and the illusion, the dream appeared in it as it. And so whatever the person thinks it did to bring itself here is never a truth, because it never existed separately. It just had this game of playing as if it was something else than this.
and does it, and then what happens is, it almost like that seeing becomes a little bit more opaque, and the dream seems to, that knowingness is always there. I don't even know how to articulate this, but
Yeah.
it's like the dream is still here.
What is still here, but the person in relationship with it completely disappears. So everything is it, and and then that one that was separate from it disappears, and it's totally not an intellectual thing, but nothing is separate from you because there's nothing it's in relationship with. Even though the hand is touching the computer and the eyes are looking at this, there's nothing which it's actually happening to. The senses and the sense become one and the same thing, but not intellectually. It's such an energetic movement that happens, and yet the character can still go on normally, the body carries on functioning kind of the same, but there's nothing in relationship anymore. It kind of eats itself up, and before, where there was something in here, like somewhere around here, it's totally empty.
But then it's like, then this person seems to come back, and it's like there's nothing, and then all of a sudden there's just this something.
Yeah, that's what
Trying
it
to,
does. It goes on
trying
and
to
off.
understand this nothing, and trying to say, oh, like, I understand this nothing.
Yeah, but it does that. It goes on and off, on and off. That person comes back and is in relationship, and then not, and then eventually it just dies out. But it does do that, and then when the person comes back, it claims it, and it will think, so I saw nothing, or I got myself here, or I did this, and then at some point that energy will burn itself out as well. But it can become very that energy can become a lot softer, and the person can still be there and think it's enlightened, but it's like really soft, that sense of self. So it kind of like it feels very different than when there was a big sense of self there before. But then you'll notice it by the person thinks it's enlightened, You see, and it's identified with something. It will think, I got this, or I know this, or I understand this.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. I totally see that. Because it can't, it's not known.
No.
It's not known. It's not for anyone. It can't even, like, but I watch how the character here tries to claim on it, almost like trying to find a salvation in it, to say, well, what I am, and I am this, I am this nothing now, because something feels very threatened, actually. Something in the characters, it feels really terrified by this, like, I can't really put, it's like, it seems like following like this, there's nothing received by no one, then there's almost a feeling of fear that then is experienced by the character, because it's like, shit, like, it's like a death.
And that's true. It can bring up a lot of fear. And then also on the other side, enlightenment was its last dream, its last big dream. It was like, can I not at least be enlightened? Like, it's also like its love affair. It falls so much in love, the character, with non-duality and with the idea, because when it's being heard, it can release like loads of pleasure and enjoyment and fun to the seeker.
And all of that.
Yeah, and so then it's like its last lover, the idea of enlightenment. So it then becomes desperate to be seen as enlightened, to act enlightened, to show others it's enlightened, and it's a burden in a way, but it burns itself out like everything. It gets tired of that game.
Because it's painful. Oh, it's incredibly painful that like, I don't know, almost like a longing in some way, you know?
Yeah. It is. It feels like it can taste it, but it can't get itself there. It's like it can taste it so close, and yet it still feels this distance.
Yeah, and then it's seen like, oh my God, there's no distance, but then all of a sudden there's an apparent distance, and that apparent distance is excruciating.
Yeah,
because
it can be really cool.
True.
Yeah, it can be. It's a really cool part, the awakening part, because it's like it tastes it, and then vroom, and then no amount of running. Some characters hold on to the idea of hope that it can do it by self-inquiry, or it can do it by this, but no amount of it can make that. It collapses when it collapses, and the person's just like a hamster running in the ball, like the ball trying to get it, and it's like he just can't get it in subject-object, because it's not subject-object. But that doesn't mean that things don't happen. It doesn't mean that the character doesn't go to retreats or go to events or listen to non-duality or seek for this or seek for that. It's not about not doing things. Doing will happen. But but you can't get there because you are an object. What a subject. I sometimes like I don't think about non-duality too much, but like it sounds like I do because I talk so much, but I don't think about it. But sometimes I reflect on what I'm actually speaking about, and then I'm like, what a subject. I'm saying there is this, but you can't get there. Like, it's like the worst sales. And then I go and do these talks and people have to pay like 20 euros or something to come in, and I'm like, well, actually there's nothing to sell here, but
you can never get there.
Yeah, because it's not something that anybody could ever get to. So it's like an artist coming to a talk where they're taught that they can't paint.
They can't.
Yeah. I mean, what a talk you're doing. But luckily, a lot of people that come from having listened to me on YouTube, so they're really like. But sometimes when I go to these big events which are organised by other people, I'm like, ah.
But there's a huge freedom in it as well. Like on some level, I don't know how to.
There's a what? Sorry.
There's a freedom in the fact that, like, because this character's tried everything.
Yeah.
Every single thing. It's kind of like trying itself into oblivion, trying to get it, and this is just like, it's pointless, you know.
Yeah.
It's completely pointless.
Yeah, that can be a very relaxing notion idea.
there's then this feeling of like, you
Yeah,
know, it's like,
it's happening.
yeah.
Oh, my pleasure. Lovely to speak with you again.
Yeah, lovely to speak to you too. And so just whatever.
Bye.
Bye.